Today we're going to talk about all the things you need to think about when you're about to offer on a home. Hi, my name is Cheryl Goetz. I'm the founder of At Home Company. We help you buy, sell, invest, renovate, and live your best life in Kitchener-Waterloo. Let's go. Okay, so you want to offer on a home. There are questions that I need to ask you and discuss strategically before we can do that in order for me to fill out the agreement of purchase and sale. And they get a little confusing. So let's just dive in. So first up is the purchase price. Now, what the house is listed at means absolutely nothing anymore. Like gone are the days where a house is listed at 700 and you're like, should we go in at 690? No, we are not assuming that 700 is the market value of that home. Like 600 could be, or 900 could be. So we do not base the purchase price off of the asking price, aka the listing price. We base the purchase price off of the market value of the home. How do we get the market value of the home? So we look at comparable sales. I will do a search of every similar typed home. So if it's a detached home, I'm not going to compare it to a townhouse down the street, for example, within a half a kilometer or a kilometer, depending on the area and depending on how active the area is within real estate. And we look at what those have recently sold for. We also take into consideration the condition of the home and your budget. Because listen, the market value of the home could be $750, but if you have a max of $740, we're not gonna go in at $750. We're gonna give it a shot. We're gonna shoot our best shot, okay? If you really want it, there are ways to win that deal, even if you're not the highest offer or even if you are below market value, which we will get into in another video. Okay, next up is the deposit. So every listing has a suggested or wished deposit associated with it. So for example, I just offered on a home that was listed at $650. Our offer is going in at $710. They have asked for a $40,000 deposit. We are offering a $50,000 deposit. You can just offer what they've asked, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can offer more, which basically tells the buyer, like, I've got all this cash on hand, I'll just give you some more deposit. That eases the seller's mind, because if you don't close on the property, then they will likely be able to keep that deposit. So the more money you offer, it's like the more skin in the game that you have, okay? If you offer less, that's cool too, but your realtor needs to properly communicate to the listing agent why you're offering less, or it could be assumed that you don't have a lot of cash, you don't want skin in the game, you aren't financially confident, for example. So if you're gonna offer less, totally fine, but you need someone on your side to properly communicate the reasoning behind that so it's not seen as a red flag. Okay, next up is irrevocable. So when you fill out an agreement of purchase and sale, it doesn't last forever, right? Like it has to have an expiry date. You're not gonna be tied to buying this house for the next 2 weeks while the sellers think about your offer. So it's basically the expiry date of your offer. So hey, I wanna buy your house for $710. If you want to sell it to me, you have to sign this by 4 p.m. tomorrow, for example, okay? So that can be strategic in a lot of ways. Some people do a really short irrevocable and it doesn't allow sellers to collect a bunch of other offers. So the listing could specifically say that they want a 24-hour irrevocable, a 48-hour irrevocable. Again, you don't have to do what the listing says, but you might be ruffling some feathers. But sometimes giving them what they want right off the bat also just makes you look good, right? If you're going to put in an offer at 7 p.m. at night and the house has been listed for 2 days and it's not that high and it is an irrevocable at 8 a.m. in the next morning and it's an elderly seller, not many people are going to be happy with that, okay? Everyone's going to get stressed out. Like the listing agent's going to get stressed out. The elderly seller is going to get stressed out. So you're not, like, I get the strategy behind it, but there's better ways of doing it. For example, so if you're gonna like offer at 4 p.m., you make it good till 11 p.m. that night. Like that's a short irrevocable that doesn't stress people out as much as like this overnight early morning situation. So all this to say is something as simple as your expiry date can be incredibly strategic and is worth giving some thought to. Next up is your closing date. Now this obviously has to be a balancing act between like what you want, what you can do, if you have a house to sell first, and what the seller wants, if they have to move, they want to be in their house for a certain time period, if it is a, power of attorney sale, etc. There's so many moving parts to this. And this is where it helps to have someone on your side who is very friendly, confident, and loves to have the open communication between themselves and the listing agent. Like, listen, this is where my guys are at, without giving anything away that could hinder their negotiation status. Let me know where your seller's at. Let's make the perfect closing date happen. And sometimes they have the perfect closing date listed in their listing agreement. And so if you can make it, do it. If you can't, again, have someone on your side to explain to them why you can't make it, and maybe you sweeten the deal somehow. Maybe you can't make it, it has to be later, but maybe you like throw in like extra funds or something to help them pay for the extra time they're gonna have to pay for the house, hold the house, keep things in storage. These are all moving parts. That's why you need someone to have an open, lovely, friendly dialogue to the listing agent, okay? All right, the last thing we'll touch on is a big one. It's clauses and conditions. So every deal needs clauses that, agree that you're going to pay the purchase price in full on the agreed closing date. For example, bare minimum, okay? Then there's other clauses that it's like, hey, like you're going to maintain the property until I close on it. So you're gonna mow the lawn, you're gonna shovel the snow. If something breaks down, like your air conditioner, you're going to fix it. If there is a leak, you're going to fix it, okay? There can be other things like warranties, and that basically states that like these items are under warranty. Therefore, on closing, if they don't work, then you have to compensate me for this. So the most common thing that I see, I don't know why stoves follow me around, but for some reason, there's been so many times where a stovetop does not work. And on our final walkthrough, usually like the day or two before your closing date, I will try all of the elements on the stovetop along with all the other appliances, for example, and a stove element won't work, or the range hood fan doesn't work. And that's when you have to give the listing agent a heads up and be like, hey, just so you know, this isn't working. I usually like to send a video too. I love sending a video being like, this is me trying it. Like if you can send me a video of you making it work later tonight, that would be great. Otherwise, my guys are going to talk to their lawyer and talk about holding back funds. How much is it going to cost to replace or fix this item? And funds could potentially be held back. Now, if you're buying a property as is, where is, which can be super common in a seller's market, you don't really have this. You just got to take the house as it is when you get it, okay? So other clauses that can be put in there is just like reiterating that things that are screwed to the wall stay there. Nobody's going to be ripping out cabinets, all right? And nobody's going to take out light fixtures. Nobody's going to peel a mirror off a wall, for example. Things like that. Other clauses is saying, hey, seller, to the best of your knowledge, you can tell me that there's been no stigmatized activities on the property or attributes, like stigmatized attributes to the property. So this could be like certain types of insulation that has been deemed dangerous. This could be criminal activity, a grow house, a murder, suicide, and those can all be listed in the clause. And so if you have things specifically that you do not want associated with your home, it's really important to tell your realtor that so they can add it to that clause. Otherwise, it's just basically a blanket clause that I like to use all the time that are the stigmas that I know most people don't want to be associated with. So another clause is, leaving the property in a broom swept condition, we like to call it. And that's just basically saying like, it's going to be empty. I'm not going to have to pay someone to remove junk from your house. And it's going to be, it doesn't have to be spotless. Not every seller is going to leave the house spotless. If it's tenanted, usually doesn't happen either. But it basically just says like, the stuff is going to be removed and it's not going to be completely filthy. There has been in the past where things have been left pretty unfortunate looking, and sometimes you just close and your good realtor friend Cheryl pays for a cleaning lady to go in there, clean the house, because you deserve to move into a cleaner house than what they've left, for example. Okay, on to conditions. Hot topic, because this seller's market, we've seen in the past couple years, we've seen conditions come and go, come and go, come and go. There has been a time in the last year that we saw conditions come back. Now they're far and few between it. Again, this video you could be watching in any type of market, but let's just talk out how to decide to put conditions in or not, okay? So first common condition is conditional upon financing. So you put that in so that you have a couple days to run your purchase agreement and the listing and all the details of the house, including property taxes, maybe condo fees, through your mortgage provider. And then they give the stamp being like, yep, you're approved. This is why it's so important to get a pre-approval with a trusted mortgage provider and a mortgage provider who is very readily available. We'll get into that in another video, because then that's very fast or not needed at all, depending on your confidence level, okay? And that is something that is entirely up to you, but also up to the state of the home. There are certain things that can be attached or associated with a home that will make getting financing harder. So sometimes, even if you're 1,000% confident in your financing, you still do need that to make sure your lender is going to be okay with whatever's going on in the home. We can discuss those in another video. So another condition that you can have is conditional upon a home inspection. So usually buyers pay for these themselves. They can be $300, $400, $500, $600, depending on who you're using and how extensive you want it to be. And I, along with hopefully you, because it's a great learning opportunity, I will take the home inspector to the home and they will go through it and inform you about everything that they can see going on in the home. They can also let you know any red flags. And some of them also are great at giving cost estimates of what the remedy for the problem they found will cost. So for example, if they say like, listen, this roof really needs to be redone. I know you can't really tell from the street, but it needs to get redone. I've seen some moisture in the attic, etc. This is an estimated cost of what it's going to be like. So if it's conditional upon a home inspection, you could use that information to then adjust your offer. So if you offered $750, for example, and it's conditional upon a home inspection, you get it back. You can either waive the condition or fulfill the condition. They're different things. I'd say, listen, we have fulfilled the condition of the home inspection and we want to move forward. Everything stays the same. Or you can say, listen, we got a home inspection. There is now $30,000 on estimate of things we would probably need to address in the first 6 months. So we can either cancel the deal and be like, I'm not buying this house anymore. Or you can say, I'm not buying this house unless you adjust the price from $750 to $720, for example. Okay. So the thing with conditions is it's been so common not to have them, which can be really scary. I often help people who are buying their first home and their parents are very active in the process and they just can't believe it. They can't believe that you would buy it unconditionally. But that is the reality of a lot of deals that are happening right now. Is it possible to buy a house with conditions? Absolutely. There are strategies that I use. If you come to me and say, I will never buy a house without those two conditions, for example, I will make it happen. I've done it before in this crazy market, okay? But the best way to tackle this is just to be over prepared. So financially, you need to be super confident with your mortgage provider, have an open dialogue with them, and potentially shop below that budget in case anything comes awry. You know, like property taxes, condo fees, things like that, that can affect your approval. And so maybe you want to shop below your budget to leave that nice buffer, okay? Another thing that you can do is get a pre-offer home inspection. So if a house is listed on Monday and they're not looking at offers until the following Tuesday, so a week and a day later, then maybe on Wednesday, we see the house, you love it. Friday, we have a home inspection. They give us like the green light. Yes, this is what's good with the house. This is what's wrong with the house. You're like, I can totally live with that. I'm gonna use that information and put an offer in based on that information. And that's a way to do things without the home inspection, but still getting a home inspection. The one thing I will say about home inspections is you can get one, you can close on the house, and something can go wrong 2 weeks later. It's happened. It's happened. So although it is wonderful to have, it is extra knowledge, you get an expert in there, it's not a bulletproof plan. So whether you are or aren't getting a home inspection, I always believe, unless you're buying a brand new build, I always believe that room should be left in the budget, because something going wrong with a house can really add up. Like my magic number is like 20K. If you can leave $20,000 in your budget to deal with anything that comes up so that you don't have to like dip into savings or go into debt to replace the roof, replace the furnace, get new appliances, I think that's great. So if it's possible, that's what I always suggest. There are a million other clauses and conditions you can put in. It's so dependent on the house, whether it's tenanted, maybe there's a pool. They're there to protect you, the buyer, or potentially appease the seller. For example, having the as-is clause. So there's always lots to think about, and it changes depending on what house you're looking at. So just keep that open dialogue with your realtor. Take your time, talk out all the different scenarios when it comes to price, deposit, irrevocable, closing date, clauses and conditions. All these little pieces add up, all right? And if you want to learn more about how you can be the most educated, informed buyer possible, check out my other videos. You can sign up for my newsletter. If you're looking to buy in Kitchener-Waterloo, I have a form down below where you fill out everything about you and your life, and if you have a family that you're moving in with, we talk about your work situation, what you like to do on the weekends, everything, and then I suggest the neighborhoods that would be best for you in Kitchener-Waterloo, so you can check that out. Otherwise, there's my email newsletter that you can sign up for, so you always get some updates on buying, selling, investing, renovation. I throw in lots of cool design tips in there, and then of course, living your best life in Kitchener-Waterloo. Until next time.